Love that bell.
I guess we'll officially call the Sunday, October 8th meeting of the Alumni College Association Board of Directors to session. Glad everybody that's there could make it. This is an experiment, trying to see if we can come in from over here someplace. On the phone, we've got Nick and Don, so they're also joining us. Guess we'll start right off. Alicia, you're going to run the roll call for us?
Yes, I am. The first thing, though, that I want to do is actually welcome one of our newest members, so that we have a new face around the table. Sabrina Lawrence is our Alumni Engagement Officer, and she is picking up duties related to the Alumni Board. And so you will likely be hearing from her, and she will be a regular participant at our meetings. So welcome, Sabrina. Class of 2013. So, for those of you who don't know her. All right, I will complete the roll. Colin Blydenberg.
Here.
Michelle Brown.
Yeah.
Ken Dober.
Here.
Mike Doherty is excused. Cody Padusha.
Here.
Nick Forrest.
Here.
Thank you. Shanley Ginshrew. Scott Holdren.
I am here.
Don Kynes.
Here. Oh, sorry.
Alexis May Fields. Brianna McKenzie. Here. Stephen Muir is excused. Addison Muller. Liz and Stephen Haley.
I got an email from them that apparently they're very close on her date, so they're not traveling right now.
We're expecting a new child.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't going to share that unless somebody else did, Scott, but yes, I do have an excuse. Bill Patton.
Here.
Joe Pellegrino.
Here.
Katie Fleischberg. Dale Pension. Steve Conti. Ann Robinson. Here. And Steve Rogers.
Okay, thanks. Let's jump right into Dr. Drugovich and Greg Fort, see what they've got to tell us.
Hey, Scott, thanks for hosting this meeting tonight. Your mobile view was behind us trying to figure out what the background was. It will be good. Is this the device that took you all the way to Arizona? Is this your band behind you? The roll on?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you, Margaret.
This is not on, is that okay?
That's okay, because we are recording through a separate thing. Scott, can you hear us now?
Oh, that's so much better, and I got to say, the background went away when I muted Donnie out, so can hear the room much, much better now. Sorry, Don.
It's all right. Well, that's the end of my report. And, Scott, I want to tell you that you would have been very proud had you been able to be here, because Bruce Cameron and Nancy Bolasang did a great job organizing the 50th reunion events and festivities for this weekend. The class of 67 had a great time, and I think that you all would have been very proud if you had spent some time with them. They were a great group, very dedicated, devoted. All of their events went very well, including the Hootenanny. Last night, I have to admit, I didn't know what a Hootenanny was. I thought maybe there was going to be like straw on the stage. I was evoking thoughts of barns and whatnot, but we actually sang a lot of Beatles songs and those kinds of things. It was great. Throughout the weekend, and you'll get a report from College Advancement about what the weekend was really all about. But from my experience, even though I spent a lot of time with a select group of people, my experience was that it was a good weekend, and a weekend that people can really be proud of. If you weren't able to take advantage of it, and I think some of you did and some of you didn't, we did the first walk down Founders Way, which ended up, I think, being a centerpiece of the weekend for a lot of people. It signifies positive change. It's a beautiful space. If you haven't walked it yet, please do. I did not realize myself how many times when I went up to places on this side, on this level of campus, how many times I just looked down all the time. I was worried about falling off the curb or stepping in a pothole or falling out the front of the Z or whatever it was. And now we have these incredibly humane places to rest and really just admire the beauty of the campus, it's even more than I had hoped for. It's really quite remarkable. So if you haven't walked it yet, please do. There will be words on that bottom wall. Now, but by the way, also obviously when you come into campus, there's a lot of signage. You haven't seen it yet, Scott, I assume. But we feel as though we're welcoming people for the first time. When you get on this campus now and you see the signs as you approach it, you get a feeling that you've arrived at a place that people are proud of, which we are. And so I'm eager to hear from you whether you agree. Did we do it right? What do you think?
It was a great weekend. From the Golden Jubilee right through to the memorial service this morning.
Great. Good. Well, so it's good. So we had a great weekend. Let me back up a little bit and give you an update. And I think that since most of you weren't here yesterday morning for the conversation with the president or my conversation with the 50-year class, I think I'm going to tell you about a couple of numbers and that are really impactful for the college this year. First of all, the number 0. This is the amount that the governor of New York has told families that they will pay for a state education. And so he told them that anybody who makes an adjusted gross income of up to $125,000 within 2 years won't have to pay for any tuition at a state or community college. And lots of people have asked me what impact that has had on the college. And I think that he launched it so late in the year, it's kind of hard to tell what kind of an impact it's going to have. We do know that they ended up awarding 22,000 students at least $1 in the program, but we really don't know any details, which tells me that it might not have been as successful as he had hoped it would be. But here's the real impact of it, and yesterday as I was trying to get people to understand what I was thinking about the impact of it, I used this analogy. What if the governor of New York said that every individual who makes $125,000 or less can go to any auto dealership and pay $0 for their car? So let's say that's true. Well, then you walk into a dealership that doesn't want to charge you $0, and you have to say, well, why should I pay $1 for this car? You know, where's the value in paying anything more than nothing for this education? And so I hate to commoditize an education like you a car, but that's the situation we're in. And for families that make up to $125,000, it's going to be a difficult decision for them to make, not because they're going to get so much money from the state, because they're not going to get all that much money. We're all going to pay for it. If you work in the state of New York, you're going to pay for it in some way. The real issue is that it's reduced the conversation about the value of education starting at 0. And so when you're a values-driven and a value-driven education like Hartwick, that's a tough climb. And I think that it's going to get harder unless the program goes away. I think we have a pretty good sense of why the governor started the program. He wanted to be, and he is now, the first governor to announce free college for the middle class. That was his goal. And people impute all kinds of motives to his goal. I won't do that this morning. We could talk about it. But that's really the effect for us. And so that's one number. The second number is the number 36. 36% of all students who go to college in the United States today are expected, based on the federal formula, to give nothing. So when they fill out the FAFSA, the federal government calculates that their expected family contribution is 0. 36%. Which means that there are lots of needy students who really want an education, but even the federal government, in its formula, says that they should have to contribute nothing to it because they really can't afford it. So that gives you a pretty good sense of what the population is of students that are out there for us to work with. So we've got governor, we've got the natural population of students that are out there for us to work with, and we've got an admission office, and a recruiting office that's doing a great job in doing their best to make the case for value. When people say to us, oh, you know, kind of Todd, your top enrollment's down, why would you spend money on something like this. But there are a couple of answers to that. First of all, we know from the leadership group work back in 2013 that they thought it was extremely important for us to compete with the way our campus looked in public. So if you're not serious about yourself and you have little blue signs out on West Street, people see little blue signs. They don't see a lot of pride. If you are making it difficult for people to navigate your campus and they can't actually appreciate what is one of our greatest assets, which is this beautiful view, then we've done ourselves a disservice. So we followed the lead of the leadership group when they said you really have to compete with the way the campus looks and feels and the kinds of things that you're offering students. And so this was the top priority of our community when we created the Master Facilities Plan back in 2012. And then the leadership group came in 2013 and said, we really have to spin some things up here. So we went back to the Master Facilities Plan. We said, okay, this is the top priority for our community. This is what we're going to do. And so we've done that. Of course, we've done lots of other things. We fixed Bonnier, we fixed Anderson, we put new roof on Dewar, we put a lot more energy efficient equipment all throughout the campus. And by April of 2015, when we have to spend all of our bond money, by then we will have spent $57 million in the last 10 years, bringing technology, bringing infrastructure, bringing beauty into the campus. And we think that's important for people. Lots of students are...
It doesn't include scholarship money.
No, that doesn't include scholarships. That's just capital improvements. Right. And that $57 million will have been funded through the capital portion of the campaign, which, as you know, was very successful and ended in 2016. Funded through operational balances or surpluses that we've had at different times during my time here. We've had surpluses of anywhere from $300,000 up to over $1 million. And the board said that when we had an operational surplus, we would put it into the capital needs of the campus because there is so much deferred maintenance that needs to be kept up on. And then we borrowed money back in 2015. The board looked at what the challenges were that were ahead of us, looked at the Master Facilities Plan, looked at the leadership group report. And I remember the day in 2014 in New York City when they reviewed the leadership group report and they said, no, we're going to make some changes to campus that really brings it up to speed, including the building of a new apartment residence hall, so that we could finish all of our offerings and actually have, nice apartment style living in the residence hall, which has been built and was finished this summer. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, I will tell you that it's nicer than any apartment that I've ever lived in. And it's good. It's good. And it should give people, especially our seniors, a sense of independence. We're still navigating and negotiating some of the finer points of what does it mean to be independent. Does it mean that public safety never comes to your front door? What does it mean, our campus safety? We're still working on all those details now that we really do want people to live on campus. Okay, so we've got the governor and we've got the marketplace. The marketplace is not going to change. I've been reviewing the escalation of financial aid over the last 6 years in particular, because that's when it really seemed the competitive market really seemed to come off. And I've been reviewing what happened to our operating budget. So you can see that in the last 5 years, as financial aid went up, we had no choice but to drop our operating budget. Our operating budget has declined, all during the time that our financial aid has gone up, which is the irresponsible thing to do. So I feel like we've been doing the right things. The question for me is, are we doing them quickly enough? So we have 6 new programs that we brought on this year: criminal justice, environment, sustainability, and society, actuarial mathematics, global studies, turning over so I don't forget any, public health, creative writing. Those are all at the undergraduate level. Criminal justice in particular seems to have garnered a lot of interest among our students. And we'll do criminal justice the way Hartwick does criminal justice. We'll talk a lot about justice. When you look at crime, why is there crime? What are the economics of crime? What are the politics of crime? What's the culture of crime? Looking at all of the things, what's the history of crime? From a philosophical point of view, what is the meaning of crime in a society? All of the things that we're well prepared to do, that's what we'll offer in that program. And it's really interesting to our students. It ended up being the 6th most popular major for students coming in this fall, and we didn't launch it until the middle of the year. Of course, nursing is still number one, followed by business and biology and the sciences. But after undeclared, it was right there. I see that similar promise for public health, and I think that once we launch that even later, I think that once we really get public health up and running, I'm really hoping that we do an emphasis on rural health in that public health program, but we've got all of the foundation that we need to create a really great interdisciplinary public health program. And so I'm glad about that. We did finally get approval from the state for our Translational Biomedical Research Management Masters, so we're searching for a director of that program now. We're working with the state on a couple of program changes in the, in the business program. They approved the program changes that we wanted to make in the business program, and those include the current curriculum is being replaced basically by 2 tracks. A quantitative business track and a more qualitative integrated business track. And you can actually go online and see all the details of that. But both tracks add an information systems course, managerial accounting for both tracks, a second econ course in both tracks, and cognate courses that focus on critical communication and law and ethics. And we've done that so that it looks and feels a lot more like an AACSB accredited program. Our Strategic Innovation Committee of the board looked at the possibility of AACSB accreditation. We had our economics faculty take a look at it. They couldn't make a recommendation to us. They were really on the fence about Carl Seeley and Carly Picano both studied the question of AACSB. They came back and said, not really sure whether it's going to be worth the expense of doing it. And so instead, we decided to go ahead and revamp the business program to make it more AACSB friendly. We're also working on an online Master's in Nursing Education. We're struggling with NICED right now, the New York State Department of Education, on the 2 nursing things, the initiatives we're trying to start with them. It just is taking forever to get through the NICED gauntlet on master's programs. And they've done great. Undergraduate programs now, within about 2 months, boom, they're back and they're telling us whether or not they'll approve them. And all that we recommended they have approved, but these master's programs are killers. And I met at the request of our private college association. I met with a budget officer that works with the state senate earlier this week, along with Karen McGrath, our Vice President for Enrollment, and Lisa Ionella, who's in our Government and Foundations office here. And we really wanted to know what's going on with NICED, and I really told him. And hopefully the Senate can do something about that. And by the way, I should tell you that when I met with the budget officers, Jim Sir joined us now. He's very concerned about the impact of Excelsior on this college. He and I spoke a lot about it last spring. He ended up voting for Excelsior anyway, which I'm still trying to rationalize, but I think I understand why the Senate and the House backed the governor on this. And I guess simply put, it's not a good idea not to back the governor. So, you know, Jim has been around the Senate long enough to know that it's important to be able to fight another day. And yeah, unfortunately, this one could really hurt us. So the reason I met with the budget officer, he wanted to know what would it take for us to be happy, basically, about Excelsior. And we don't have the time this morning. I'm sure you've got a robust agenda for me to go through and talk with you about Excelsior. But so I won't. But there are things that could be done to make it easier for us to work with, and I certainly told him what I thought about that. So why am I telling you about these new programs? I'm telling you because at the same time that our market is constricting, we've got to get busy. Before we started these new programs, we hadn't had a new academic program here for 10 years. And over 10 years. No, well over 10 years. Early 2000s. So it's really important that we do this. So how do we keep it going? If it took that long, to get these programs into the mix. How do we do that? Well, we started this new planning cycle, leadership group. We acted on the leadership group's plans, and we're rolling all those out. So we've redone the website, we've looked at international students, the things that we looked at academic calendar, the things that leadership group asked us to do, we've done. It's 3 years later, and we're starting a new planning cycle this year. It's called Hartwick 225, Students First. And so for the year, members of our community, faculty, staff, students, all volunteers. Nobody was assigned to Hartwick 225. Only volunteers are coming together to work on a series of questions that are really core to our being able to go forward. So, for example, and why is it Hartwick 225, by the way? In the year 2022, it's going to be our 225th anniversary. So the work that this cross-college, multidisciplinary committee does this year, the board will meet again in June, and then we'll talk about their recommendations and my recommendations about what the work that they've done, and the board will act as appropriate. So what have I asked them to look at? I'm going to summarize a couple of them for you, and then I'll just take questions. So basically, what I've asked them to do in an overarching way is look at next steps in some really critical, path-critical, mission-critical areas. So the first is, how do we create an environment where we can enable development of new traditional education programs? So undergraduate, graduate, online, and then disaggregated programs. And what I mean by disaggregated, you take the accounting program and you take a few courses out of it and you offer a certificate. Why? Because we need to keep moving. Right? We need to keep moving on this, and it took so long to get those first programs. You have to institutionalize the idea that change is good and that new is good. There are all kinds of reasons to agitate against new, but we had an alumna, Nadia Jetchkem-Faeva, who came last week to talk to our students. She graduated in 2001. She has a website called, in a business called We Exist, Reinvention Agency. You should really jump online, take a look at it. She came and she had our students mesmerized of what her message was. And her message was, you get, every 3.5 years, you're going to have to reinvent yourself. You're going to have 8 different careers, 9 jobs during your career, and every 3.5 years you're going to have to reinvent yourself. Even if you have the same job, you're going to have to reinvent yourself, because that's the half-life is shrinking. And things are moving so quickly, and technology is accelerating change at such a pace, you as a human being are going to have to reinvent yourself that frequently. And she's all about agility and being an agile learner. And she would say about this, of course, you have to have the systems in place to enable. You can't just say go. Start a new program. You have to have the systems and structures in place to enable people to go. And so that first group is going to be working on that. How do we develop a plan that we can enable this kind of traditional education-centered revenue streams? The second group is looking at a plan for fully realizing our organizing principle and strategic framework. We will be the best at melding a liberal arts college or liberal arts education with experiential learning. How do we get students to take internships? I haven't had a chance to catch up with people about the internship fair last year, but what I do know that took place on Thursday, anybody here know? Alicia or Greg, do you guys know what happened at the internship fair?
Melissa indicated that they had over 200 students that attended, and I think they were close to 50 different employers that were represented. And there were 3 alumni amongst those employers.
Good. Well, that's a better turnout than last year. But my question is, we've got 1,200 students. Why only 200 students? So we need to get more students doing that fair. And that's 4 students for every person who is there. Our employers in the area are very interested in having interns. But how do we incentivize the students to do it? How do we incentivize them to do more student research? How do we incentivize them to get engaged civically? How do we incentivize them to study abroad? Last year was one of our lowest years ever for participation in the January term study abroad program. And you know how important it is. And if this committee comes back and says it's all about money, that's it, that's the only barrier, I don't know what they're going to say. I mean, they're studying the question, what is it? Why are students not queuing up? got all these employers, and they're why aren't they doing that? That committee that's what they're doing this year, is studying that issue. And they're going to give us advice about how to make it better. If it's all about money, then they'll tell us it's all about money. People just can't afford it. But if that's not the only thing, and then we have to do something about that. But if that's not the only thing, then we need to figure out what it is. Another committee is working on how to maximize our enrollment in our popular programs, so that we can generate more revenue to pay for the others. So I know that it makes people nervous to think that we have even more nurses. 25% of our new students are nurses every year. But how do we maximize enrollment in nursing? How do we maximize it in business? How do we maximize it in biology and psychology? And I'm sure that criminal justice will be on this list that they'll take a look at. This is important because people just don't want to study philosophy. Or at least they don't want to get a major. But it's so important that we teach it. So in order for us to hang on to these things that we think are important, we've got to maximize revenue in the areas where people want. And what they want right now is healthcare. They want healthcare. And the only space that we have healthcare in right now is skilled nursing. So they're working on that. They may come back to us and say, oh, you're going to have to create a new anatomy and physiology lab. Otherwise, or you're going to have to do more simulation and let that substitute for clinical placement. We've talked about taking Holmes Hall offline and creating a hospital ward in that space to enhance simulation. If all these things are possible, we'd like to hear from this group about what they think. Another group is developing recommendations about how to develop a distinctive niche that would be a differentiator for us. So, for example, we started a thing with Doug Stone, I think you know. We've got tequila lovers, or fortequilalovers.com, and he's registered some 300 domain names like this. So think about foricecreamlovers.com, or forcoffeelovers.com, that kind of thing. Basically, he connects the world through the internet with great tequila. And we came here and worked with our students of humanities and business group. So not just students from business, but students from other disciplines, including humanities, work together as a group in competition with one another to develop the best marketing plan for him to enable his business on fortequilalovers.com. And told us that the best group, he would actually implement their marketing plan. But the key here, it wasn't just business students. It was students who were writing. Maisha, if any of you remember May, she was part of that group in that competition. She's an English major. Students from across disciplines. So the question is, this group's looking at, well, could humanities and business be the thing that defines Hartwick? Should we explode that out? Should we require that every student who comes to Hartwick works on an interdisciplinary team on a project? Maybe we should. So they're thinking about that. Alumni mentorship. Should we be the only college in the country that assigns an alumnus or an alumna to every student who's here, and they marshal that student through their 4 years? Regional economic development. You know, we've created the Center for Craft and Beverage. We've now expanded the lab. We've doubled the size of the lab space here. We've been working with downtown. I really would like us to move into sustainable foods. We've created a little white paper about that, thinking about that with the city and the state. Could we have a Sustainable Foods Institute that actually takes the CCFB and helps it to realize its full potential, not just on the brewing side, but now on the food side, the ancient grain side? Could we do that? And that's three things they're considering. But I told them, you have carte blanche. If these aren't the points of distinction, if these are not the niches for us, then move on. Tell us. Give us your best thinking about that. So I'll come back to this one. We've created the Center for Collaboration and Innovation. The first manifestation of that center, you can think of the Center of Collaboration and Innovation as an umbrella that is over the entire college. The first physical manifestation is the makerspace, which is in the library. If you haven't seen it yet, have you seen it? Some of you? Yeah. It's an open space, a creative place. It's right back in the library. So now when you walk to Jaeger, You can look straight through. There's a glass wall instead of a wood wall. You look straight through to a space where people come together to think together. The walls have glass finishes on them, so you can write on them. The tables, these are temporary tables. The tables that will come in are tables that you can write on. Nadia gave her first group speech that day that she was here. We expected 25 students, over 100 showed up. And into that room, over 100 students came to her lecture. That evening, she had them on the edge of their seats. This is an important idea. And why is it important to accomplish? Not just because it's a space. You know, we want to eventually hang an entrepreneurship hub. This is not going to be located there. It's located somewhere in this building or whatever. So don't think of the Center for Collaboration and Innovation as a physical space per se. Eventually we'll have a director for the center, but think about it as positive activity that help us to innovate. And it doesn't mean you have to be locked into a single space. So they're thinking about that and how the CCFB should relate to that center, and they're thinking about how to link the Center for Collaboration and Innovation to a regional economic development activity. These are things I've asked them to think about, but I've also told this group, blow it out. You know, whatever this triggers for you, far beyond my imagination, keep going. You know, keep going, because we need to do that. And then we've got a couple of other committees. I won't go through them. They're working on things, but one very important one is working on how to create a plan to really increase the rate of degree completion. It seems like no matter what kitchen sink we throw at this problem, we're not able to fix it. And this year in particular, we don't know if it was Excelsior, but we saw some of the lowest return rates for sophomores going into their junior year and juniors going into the senior year this year than we've ever seen. And I can tell you, when you have a constrained market and that market is really picky and they don't want to pay for your product, and then you lose customers, I'll just bring it down to the, you know, sort of the banking. Are you still in banking? Okay. That hasn't been quite 3.5 years yet. You haven't been banking. So, you know, acquiring a banking customer, you're always out looking for new customers. The easiest thing for you to do and the hardest thing to deal with is if you lose one. You got to keep them. And this is so frustrating to me because it just saps our energy, losing students. And what's the most important thing about losing them? It's not just revenue. They just don't get their degrees. So I know 160 students left Hartwick last year. I know 120 of them went on to another college. I know that 80% of that 120 went to a senior or junior. But then I say to myself, what happened to the 40 that left and didn't go anywhere? And that data is good data. It's submitted by a thing called the clearinghouse. And so we know pretty well whether or not people actually enroll in college. Our first goal is to get people educated. And if we don't have them educated here, let's hope they get their degree somewhere, but I want them to graduate from Hartwick. So we're going to be doing some reorganization again, because we're going to keep doing it until we get it right. And we're not getting it right. We've done everything. We created the Center for Student Success. As you know, we combined a lot of services together to make it easy for students to find it. We've created financial aid, and increase until the point where we're really at breaking point on that to give them more money. We have more counselors than we've ever had, and we can't seem to break the cycle. So the Retention Advisory Committee, which is again, cross-institutional committee, intended to initially be only faculty really, but it's become a little bit bigger. You know, they said there's a culture thing at Hartwick that we need to break through, and I'm waiting on the edge of my seat to tell me what that means. Because if there is a culture, then we need to figure out what that is so that we can break it if we need to in order to get these students to graduate. So when you're in a difficult situation, I said to the class of 50 yesterday morning, if you were the president, what would you do? You know, kind of step back. And I'm like, oh, you know, what you do? You work like the devil to make it better. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be smart about it. We're going to continue to reallocate budget until, you know, we can't reallocate it anymore. But I will tell you that the one thing that I think about most of all that is totally out of my control is the acceleration of need. Our financial aid consultant came to us this year and they said, in order for you to be competitive, you're going to have to raise your first year incoming discount by 4%. Now, you know, when we had a small class of 15, there were a number of things that contributed to that small class, but I've gone back and I really looked at some numbers. And I've convinced myself that one of the reasons that we had that small class is the year before, we had a big class that totally blew out the budget. We went way over on financial aid. And our financial aid awards to new students went up, I think it was 3.5 or so percentage points, unintentionally, because of who accepted our offers. And then in 15, we tried to put the brakes on that. We're like, whoa, we can't do that again. You know, that's just too expensive. We're going to fold. And the market wouldn't have it. And so we've had to continue to escalate. He's suggesting that we offer first-year discount for this coming class of 70%, which means that 70 cents of every dollar would go back into financial aid. Now, let me tell you that that sounds horrid, and it is horrid, because that represents about a 25% increase just in the 10 years that I've been here, the 10 cycles I've been here. And he told us that there are schools on the East Coast that are now at 80 and above. But what that means is they're not getting any net tuition revenue to fund their operation. And that's why, if you look at our sheet, you can see our operational expenses have gone down and down and down because we've had to reallocate, 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 cut, 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 and you get to the place where that is not a sustainable model. We know it's not. The only way for you to believe that is to bring in these additional revenues. So we're doing the right things. I feel strongly that we're doing the right things. Having said that, I cannot control what's happening in the public, and the governor really tried to really dealt us a tongue when he told people, you know, start from zero, and we're to it after that. So that's the situation we're in. Good news is that we did have a successful campaign while all this was happening. Our alumni and our friends cared deeply about this place. Last year we raised more money for the annual fund than was our goal, which is great. So thank you all. I know that you all contributed, and that was very important. It takes all of us to make this great thing go. And not just me, but all the people on this committee, all of you sitting around this room, your fearless leader in Arizona, everybody who attended and made Reunion Weekend, you know, lift us all up. It's important. You know, why do we do this? We do it for our students, and we do it for you, so that you can always be proud of your alma mater. So let me stop there and see if you have any questions.
Question about those students who aren't returning. Is there any data on exactly why they're not coming back? They're going to other senior schools. Is it financial, or is there anything on that?
So when we do exit interviews, I've always told people I think exit interviews are a waste of time, except they're the best thing we have. Right? What you would really want to do, the reason I say it's a waste of time, I should not shortcut that. I think that when a student decides to leave, it could be one cataclysmic event. So, for example, a young man came this year. He was going to play on our basketball team. His mom works in the city. And this is a great example of trickle-down effect economically. His mom works in the city. She cleans hotel rooms. She makes $68,000 a year cleaning hotel rooms. And then she commutes, obviously, out of the city to live. Well, her hotel decided no more overtime. We're not going to pay any overtime for any of our employees. You're just going to have to work harder during the hours that you're booked. And her income was going to drop by $20,000. So she's going to make, you know, $48,000 cleaning rooms, one income family. They had taken a $15,000 plus one to pay for his first year. And he had a panic attack. Like, I can't do this to my mother. So sometimes it's a single issue like that. And on an exit interview, we understood exactly what happened. And I really hope he comes back, because he's a lovely young man, and we'll do what we can to get him back. But oftentimes, I think it's 1,000 cuts. And by the time you get somebody in an exit interview, it's hard for them to tell you exactly what's happening on the side of their leaving. So it could be disappointments, maybe they really didn't settle in their first year, maybe they're having a hard time finding friends, maybe that in addition to the fact that their parents are taking loans, or maybe they're not doing particularly well, they're getting C's, and their parents are like, come on, I'm taking all this money for you to get C's and D's, that's not going to work. But it's hard to get people to tell you, what the real trigger is when it's a complicated situation, and most of them are. Sometimes when people say, well, I'm just homesick. And I will tell you that these students that we have today are even more transparent than all of you were. They are more likely to stand in front of you and tell you exactly what's on their mind. I did that scholarship reception that we did here. I had a whole line of students wanting to talk to me, and I thought, oh, they're going to tell me they need more financial aid. They just want to talk. And they're willing to talk, and they will tell you. So maybe it'll get better, but it has historically been difficult for us to understand why people actually leave. So we do exit interviews. The clearinghouse data about where people go is the best source of what their educational plans are after they leave here. And that's a national database that we can call on. But we keep doing exit interviews and we try to figure it out. And so it's, I don't like my major, I don't fit in, I'm lonely, I'm homesick, it's too expensive to go here. But when people say it's too expensive, it's hard to know what they mean. If they never wanted to come here to begin with, and they came here because they got financial aid that could support them, that looks like too expensive. Or if their parents lose a job, that's too expensive. Or if their parents don't qualify for a plus loan, that's too expensive. It's lots of things.
Margaret, is there any data on any other private colleges, and do they have similar numbers for experiencing in that area?
Yeah, so I saw a survey recently, and I verified this with Karen McGrath. Only about 30% of the private colleges in the state of New York met their goal for this fall. I guess what might be more meaningful than that is that last week I attended a meeting of 20 college presidents in New York, all private college presidents in New York City. And I'm not, because of the rules of the meeting, I can't actually tell you who was in the room, but I'm permitted to tell you what we talked about. And so I was invited to this meeting because I've been calling college presidents in the state saying, we're kind of landlocked here, hard for us to start any kind of collaborative effort that would help us to save, dollars, consolidations, joint programs, whatever. Are you interested? And I called enough of them that I finally ended up talking to somebody who had been in this group. And she got an invitation from me to join. And so I went to that meeting last Friday. And I will tell you, we are going to experience what I think is going to be a historic watershed, at least in the state of New York, of private institutions that will either be closing or consolidating, merging. There are many examples of small colleges that happened last year. They were the ones that were on the most ready edge. But around that table, there were lots of colleges that had endowments, not of 72 or 73 million like we do, but 5 million. And they're bleeding students. So this is not our problem. And I take absolutely no comfort from that, because if it was just our problem, it would be easier to fix. Frankly, it would be, hey, we're just not doing what needs to be done. But we can do what needs to be done, and we still may not be able to get ahead of this wave. There was a consultant with the group, and there's a foundation, by the way, it's so interesting, a private foundation that works with nonprofit organizations sponsored this meeting and paid for a consultant to come in and work with this group of colleges that were interested in talking to each other. And the reason we can't say who's in the room is because nobody wants their college president in the room. So I'm being honest with you. I'm guessing that lots of college presidents moved their communities that were in there. But I want the best ideas that we can possibly have so that I can strengthen this place, so that we get another 220 years out of Hartwick. So they hired a consultant, and the consultant came in and said, okay, so there are already starting closures. So there were closures out in Long Island, small closures. St. James College is closing. A lot of colleges that are so small, you might not even know them. Okay, Shimer College out in the Chicago land area, been around for a long time. They have Great Books College. They got totally absorbed by North Central over the last year, and I've met with their president and talked to her about what that was like, why did they do it, what was the process they went through, how could she have avoided it, all those things like that. He said, that's just going to be the first colleges are the weakest colleges are going to go first, and then second-tier colleges with reasonable endowments, 25, 30 million, are going to go next. And then the colleges like us will be on the third wave. And depending on what the marketplace will do, in his opinion, this consultant, who's a higher ed consultant and he talks to a lot of colleges, he thinks that there won't be any private college that's going to be here because the public's not interested. Paying, and they get a drumbeat of messages they don't. Now, I'm not willing to get into that. I think there will be winners. There will be, I don't want to say winners or losers. There will be colleges that continue. They may not look exactly as they look today, and that might be okay. But the public is changing. We don't have enough people going to college who are able to afford this. And it's happening quickly, and super quickly, more quickly than anybody expected. What I will say, and I may have told this group before, back in 2001, I was in a room with a guy by the name of Dick Chait, who's a consultant, Harvard School of Higher Education. He's a consultant with mostly boards of trustees. And at the Chautauqua Institution here in Jamestown, he sat in front of my board in Ohio Wesleyan in 2001, and he said that by 2025, all the liberal arts colleges, half the liberal arts colleges in the United States will be closed. That's what he said 16 years ago. And he said it just based on demographics. Because he was able to look at the kids that had been born in 2001 and project forward and said, no, not going to be my kids. And the families that they're coming from, they're not going to be able to afford it. So this is a real thing. This isn't just us. And I would say that in some ways we've beaten back the inevitable pretty profoundly over the last few years. The question is how to be, there will be survivors of this, and how do we end up on that side of the fence? So that's what I'm all about every day. This is not a surprise to me. I only seen this coming. I can remember talking to our community back in 2008-9, and my very first State of the College with the community, and sort of laying out what was going to happen, and then every year updating people on what's happening. Nothing about this is it's really just a matter of and whether or not we're able to remake ourselves. So that's the challenge I put to you. Are we able to make an educational institution every 3 years?
That's enough, but they make that.
Actually, I asked Nadia when she was here. I had dinner with her, and I said to her, have you ever worked with an educational institution? You work with Coca-Cola, you work with these national companies. She said she's got so much work that she's doing on reinvention with corporations that she can't take another client for another 3 years. I said, have you ever worked with an educational organization? Because we are well known for doing so well. He said no. So maybe you should think about it. Maybe you could come on with us. She wants to come back and work with our students for free. She said that she would be willing, just even this fall, coming fall, to come back and work with all of our first-year students and do a whole day with them on Agile thinking. So it's an interesting time, and for me, it's like surfing. Waves get bigger and bigger, and a little more scary, but we have to stay ahead of it, and not get our boat swamped. That's key. So I've got lots of good help to do it. All of these wonderful people who volunteered to be on Hartwick 225, going back to all the people who volunteered to be on the leadership group, all of our board, best board on the planet. I said yesterday, if I could enter them into a board of trustees decathlon, I would. Because they're super well informed, they're really bright, they understand what the challenges are, they have a look forward point of view, they are totally dedicated to this place. They're the best. We've got great faculty. You You know, even in the time that you graduated, we took on 24 new faculty just in the last 2 years. And they're amazing. So for as much as you love the faculty who've been here for a long time, one thing I can tell you about the new faculty is you really be inspired by them as well. So they're top quality. There are lots of balls in the air, as you can tell. And the challenge for a college president is to keep them all in the air and don't let any of them go. I can do this with your help, with everybody in this room. Seriously. It can be done. It can be done. It's going to take all of us putting our best efforts to make sure. Are you optimistic about the fact that we can do this? Are you? Okay, good. I said to the vice presidents, Greg was sitting there, I said to them last week, I went around the table, didn't I, Greg? Are you in or are you out? You know, these challenges are big, and most presidents don't want to ask their VPs if they're in or out. They want to tell them if they're in or out, right? But we've got good people, and I said, are you up for this challenge or not? Because this is going to be a lot of hard work, and you're going to have to challenge people, and you're going to have to save them. Are you going to save your own people? Are you in or are you out? If you're in, get over there, and let's make this thing happen. If you're out, please stand back or go find someplace else to be, so that you don't drag the system down, because we've got to move. We've got to do some really good things here. And so we've got good people. We can make this happen. And one last word, and I promise I'll stop unless you have another question. Our students are phenomenal. You guys are great. These guys are super great. I'm sorry. They are really amazing. They're bright and they're energetic and they're hungry. They're hungry for an education. So just because they don't have money, just because 46% of our first-year class was Pell eligible, just because 50% of our first-year class had a calculated financial need of $52,000 or more, which made them essentially full need. They're hungry. They want this. And, you know, what better place to teach than the students who want it, right? Yeah. They aren't lethargic. They aren't sitting back and taking anything for granted. They've worked hard to get where they are. It's interesting. They just want this education. So it's good. So here in on it, and we're going to make it happen. But I can tell you, it won't be easy. It's just not going to be easy. One of the things you can do that can really be helpful to me is you can get people to talk about their wills. And the reason I'm going to ask you to do that, I know you seem awfully young, some of you, but you have parents, and you have grandparents. And for as much as I'd like to say that we're all going to live forever, it's just not true. So I'm going to tell you something that you can do. It's hard to talk to people about estate planning. We clean it up by saying estate planning, but it's really wills. Here's the thing. About, when did Margaret Gurney die? 3 years ago?
March of 15.
Okay, 2.5 years ago. So a woman named Margaret Gurney, who was in this community, wasn't a Hartwick grad, lived here her entire life, family had business interests downtown. I don't think she ever married. She lived in a very modest home in Oneonta. When she died, she gave her entire estate in equal portion to Hartwick College and Black Hospital, with a little piece set aside for a church. And actually not for the church, but for a school that was attached to the church. That, this simple woman who lived very modestly, her gift to Hartwick College is going to be, at a minimum, $1.7 million. There's still a question of whether or not we'll actually have another $400,000 from that state. So I think it's likely that her gift will be $2.1 million. Now, Margaret Gurney was going to die. And she loved this community, and she chose. What did she think was most important to support? And she chose Hartwick as one of the things that was most important. You need to talk to your kid about this, because Margaret Gurney's money this year is really filling a very important budget gap that we have. Now, I'd like to take, it was unrestricted, by the way. So she didn't say build a building, she didn't say put it into a scholarship, she just said whatever you need to use it for, there you have it. I want you to have it. And she is doing this community such a service, because if it wasn't for the Margaret Gurney money, we'd be pulling probably another $2 million from the endowment, which would have been the first year that we had to actually take extra endowment money in order to bridge a budget gap.
Harvard is a certified financial planner. I deal with this every day. The number of people who don't have or don't physically do those properties, they don't understand the beneficiaries and what's the neighborhood behavior of the state. But quite often I find that people, they don't even notify people state service. You know, you're
Right.
what kind of dollars do you get into those versus bequests or legal state issue bills?
You know, I'd have to ballpark that, but I would say a good guess might be half. It's not so important to me, actually, that we know. I'd love to know. What's important to me is that it happens. Because whether the gift is expected or not, it's just as valuable to the college. Yes, well, it helps that you don't know.
But if there's an interest in their will, they don't have any interest in their will.
Yes.
See the benefit of that.
It would be great for us, because here's the other thing. I don't want to name things for people posthumously. You know, if somebody makes a bequest gift and it's irrevocable, if somebody today made an unrestricted bequest gift and it was irrevocable, I would name the new apartment after them, if it was a $2 million gift. I never want to be in a position where I can take somebody's name off of it because the bequest doesn't happen. But it's real money. We all have estates. Even you probably don't think you've got anything right now, but believe it or not, you've got an estate already. And you've got assets, you've got stuff. That stuff needs to go somewhere. And there are plenty of attorneys that are out there and financial planners that are willing to help you figure out that. Even a gift of a couple $1,000. We get a lot of couple $1,000 gifts to get to $2 million a year from you. So I'd ask you to think about it. Talk to people about it, because those gifts mean everything for the health of the college. It really do.
We're doing this when you talk to your parents.
And yeah, your parents and your grandparents. And say to your grandparents, Grandma, would you consider giving a gift to the college as part of your will? In your will? This place is so important to me. I don't have any money to give, and I want you to live for another 30 years. But would you consider it? Making that part of your estate, and she could make a gift in your name. It's all possible. It seems like a morbid thing. Maybe I've been through too much of my own estate planning to protect our own children, and for a long time, you know that Beth and I couldn't get married, so we had separate super trusts, and it cost us several $1,000s a year to keep them up to date, and protect the kids, and I know this system, and it's so important. And the work you do is so important to families, too. And once you start to organize your thoughts, well, what do I want?
How do you communicate?
Yeah, how do you communicate? Yeah, it's scary. It's not the most pleasant thing, but actually, once you start working on it, it's not that pleasant. Because it's just a part of anything else you do. It's kind of exciting to think that you could make something happen. Well, Margaret Gurney, she didn't even want us. She would have preferred that we didn't even know who she was. So not everybody's looking for board when they do the estate planning, but you can do this. You already have people in your lives that could make a huge difference to the college. And my advancement colleagues here didn't know I was going to make this pitch to you this morning, but I am grateful for Margaret Gurney. And at the board meeting in May, I read the names of all the people into the official record of the board. All the people whose gifts made it possible for us to balance our budget last year. And we will get back to a place where we don't have to take those unrestricted gifts and do that. You know, we can do other things with those gifts, but for right now, thank goodness for that. So you can do that too. So please consider it. It may live a long life. I don't know what to wish. I don't know what to wish for. I know that they say there's somebody alive probably in this room that could live until they were 1,000. But I don't really want to do that. You don't really want to do that. No. Okay.
Can I ask you to include the Peace Corps program that we
Yes.
staffed in Fuchsia
Yes.
initiative?
I always like to talk about challenges. You want me to talk about really great things?
I do.
I do.
Very
Yeah.
exciting. I'm very excited about it.
It is really good. Actually, I've got a list of really cool things that have happened here, including Peace Corps. So let me see what the rest of that list is. Disorganized. Okay. So, yes. So we are, here we go. The Peace Corps has approved the Peace Corps preparatory program. And what that means is we'll be able to offer students who take certain courses and have certain content, and it's available to students and all majors. And if the Peace Corps is required curriculum, we'll be able to give them a certificate, which they'll be able to take to the Peace Corps, which will pre-qualify them for the Peace Corps consideration in each of their programs. And that's really important because it's not as easy to get into the Peace Corps as people think it is. And we are now just a few in the nation, and the first college in New York to have gotten the certification. So it's something we could really be proud of. I should also tell you that in my list of great things that have happened, this last year you might not have seen it, but the Osceola County Chamber of Commerce honored our Center for Craft Food and Beverage with their Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield Breakthrough Business of the Year Award. So that was very nice. We were also recognized as Partner of the Year by SugoNet, which is our local IDA. And they gave us that recognition, and they said, quote, for our increasing role as an advocate and partner in driving economic growth in Oneonta and in the county. So that's why they chose us for that, which is great. Even though we're down in the percentage of our students who are studying abroad, and I think this number will change, but the most recent report from the Institute of International Education ranked us number 12 among all four-year colleges in the percentage of our students who study abroad. So that's a very good thing. That's going to change, but it's good. We were in all the important rankings, so we made U.S. News and World Report's Best Colleges Guide. We made their listing of Best National Liberal Arts Colleges. We made Forbes magazine top colleges again this year. And we ranked, among Forbes, we ranked 191 among all of their private colleges for having the highest percentage of grateful grads. I don't know how to get to this stuff. Did you guys fill out a grateful grad survey? No?
Never heard of it.
Oh, we could have been 190 instead of 191, and only they had you fill out the survey. I don't know who did it, but there you go. Wall Street Journal recognized us again in among its top lists of colleges and universities. It's all good. You know, these are all good things. But as Nadia said, you know, when you are going to reinvent yourself, there's a bell curve. And if you think at the top of the bell curve as being your best, so as you ascend to your peak performance, you're right there. You cannot wait until you are down here to remake yourself. Where you remake yourself and you innovate and you reinvent yourself is right before you get to the peak. So we always have to stay. That's that surfing analogy. I love it because it fits. I've always thought about surfing in this way, but it fits her analogy. You have to stay just right there and constantly remake yourself as you're at the top of your game. So based on a lot of this and a lot of what's happening here and the great teaching that's happening here and some of the really innovative thinking that's happening here, we are on the top of our game and we've got a heck of a storm that we're trying to surf through. So think about that. Not to pull on our hurricane analogies. We can do that. Did Scott, like, leave us, or is he still here?
Scott, you can still hear us, right?
Yep, I can still hear and I can still see. It looks like your laptop timed out, but that's okay.
Okay, great. Well, we can see you now.
Yes, I have.
I'm very excited about you have the criminal justice major now, for obvious reasons. I see a very good opportunity in this. There's at least 5 members of the MITD that were Hartwick graduates, and countless other organizations. Who's the chair of the department so that I can get in contact so we can do anything?
Right. Right. So the right person for you to talk to would be Reed Golden. This is really, Reed Golden is going to be the this granddad. He's been thinking, because that department's changing a lot. I mean, you're getting lots of new people there in the department, and it's going to be a multidisciplinary effort for criminal justice. It's going to be politics, economics, sociology. He's the one. It would be great for all of you to come up someday. Uniforms blazing. We're going to talk to our students. So wear your uniform when you're off duty?
Yes. Oh yes, especially outside of New York City. They get in trouble for
Okay. Well, I don't want you to get in trouble. Far be it from me to get you in trouble, Joe. No way. So, yeah, Reed Golden would be great. That'd be good.
Our leadership team has been working on it seems to be the start of a strategic plan for Hartwick going forward in terms of how we can grow again.
For 225 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, do we have strategic plans for mergers? Do we have strategic plans for going down? Do we have various strategic plans that if we don't, should that be something we consider?
We don't at this time. The board has asked me to start to look at the opportunities for collaboration.
Perfect.
Collaboration. There's lots of ways that you can collaborate with institutions. So, for example, here's one way. I called a colleague of mine out in California, and I talked with her about, could we collaborate across the country? Students from New York might want to go out to her university in California. Her students in her university might want to come here for a year of their education. Is there a way to collaborate? And she's very interested in it, as I am. And so what we're starting is we've got our 2 provosts on the phone now talking about ways to collaborate on articulation agreements. So these are the least threatening, least edgy ways to start to collaborate, articulation agreements for graduate programs. But there are other ways to do it. You can have joint ventures, you can have mergers, you can have acquisitions, which aren't the same thing, you can collaborate. Collaborations are easier when you have people close at hand. And we don't. I actually had to go through the mental exercise. I had my associate, Caitlin, map where all the colleges are within 100 miles, and have them color them blue if they were private and red if they weren't. And yeah, we're in a bit of an oasis here. Oneonta is an oasis. And it's a beautiful oasis, but collaborations are not that easy. So we have to be really creative about it. But yes, we are thinking about it. There are many things I need to do every day, and so I'm devoting as much of my time to this as I can. Right now I'm trying to educate myself on what some of the best thinking is. But the fact that this meeting of these 20 schools that I met with last Friday, they didn't get together because they plan to close. They didn't get together because they're going to fold into somebody else. They got together because they know that the time has come that they have to think out of the box, and then they have to figure out how to bring their community along. So there's more happening under the surface than it appears. This should not be a surprise to you. Right? Is there any industry that you know that isn't going through some kind of consolidation? Look what's happening in retail. Holy cow. And being someone who has to wear suits all the time, let me tell you what's happening in retail, right? You cannot go into Macy's. All of a sudden, between last year and this year, Macy's has abandoned my profile. No more business suits. Gone. It's unbelievable. And so Beth, who's my private shopper, goes into all these Macy's and she says, where's your business? He's gone. So she's finally asked him, what happened? I'm not going to tell me. That demographic is too small. It's a way too long to retire. What's really scary is I can remember my mother going through this, saying, I went to the store, there was nothing I could find to wear that I wanted to wear. And I'm like, man, I what was my mother was, and she used to talk about that. But our demographic, you know, business attire, no, everybody's wearing tight clothes and more casual, and they want the 20-something markets to go into shopping Macy's so that they can have a 30-year future. Right? So they're moving away from our demographic. And every industry is going through this. They're trying to acquire new customers in a constrained market. And I don't know, I can't think of an industry that's not going through this. On the other hand, as I said to everybody I met with yesterday, do you know of any business that you can cite that's been around for 220 years? Pretty much the only businesses in the country that have been around for 220 years are educational institutions. And that's when you know how bad the storm is. When educational institutions have been around for a long time, right? When we send people to inaugurations, oftentimes Hartwick Road people, representatives standing near Hartford Road people because we were founded within just 30 years of one another. It's rare. And yet I see colleges that have been around for 100 years or more really struggling. There were colleges in that room last Friday that have been around for, you would recognize all of their names, and they've been around for a long time. And so we are, I suppose, we've been somewhat immune to these pressures, but I think we've reached a real tipping point because we're just no longer affordable. And I have to say one more thing. I can't stop myself about this. Over 30 states are thinking about some kind of free college program. And they're doing this because no one in their state can afford to go to school. They wouldn't do it unless they had to. And they don't have a clue about how they're going to pay for it.
Part of the say is, what is the cost of the tax rate? I've never been able to answer.
Good luck to you. No. Oh, well, we know this. We know that a student who goes to SUNY as of last year, a student who went to SUNY or CUNY was underwritten by the state taxpayers every year to the tune of just under $9,000.
What's the cost of the entire institution?
Yeah. Well, I think that is a figure that goes into all the support that goes into that student. So tuition might be $5,000 at a state institution, but the state taxpayer is subsidizing that student at $9,000 a head. We know because we have the data, the state taxpayer subsidized that typical student who went to a private college in New York at $700 a head. And I know for Hartwick, because I calculated it, the state taxpayer in the state of New York subsidized a Hartwick student on average at $1,000 a head, not $9,000. We are the best deal for state taxpayers. I don't know why the state taxpayers didn't revolt over this program, except that free is incredibly alluring. They don't, because you know what? They're just occasional consumers. They only come into the marketplace when their kids are going to college or when they have to go back to school, and then they move out of it. So there's no learning that happens. There's no continuity of understanding. There's no historical perspective. They have no idea. All they know is that they want to go to Hartwick, and it's going to cost them $56,000. And yeah, I got a $28,000 scholarship. I have to have fun the rest of it.
I'll go for a long time ago. Politicians like a long time ago. So we put these out and they will come these times to go.
Yes. Well, if you look at all of the populist kinds of things that the governor is doing, he's really checking all boxes. Building, in my opinion, the road to Washington. So I told a lot of people, and they're like, is there anything you do? I do not get involved with politics typically because I think it's not my role. But I did as best I could, and my colleagues will say, our community got emails from me last spring telling them you've got to help to stop this thing. You got to do everything you can. Talk to your congresspeople. It's easy to talk to the assembly. It's easy to talk to the Senate. Just talk to them to get in the way in front of this thing. Because we're going to run over by it. But you can't reason with political ambition. There's no reasoning for political ambition. It's like, here's an apple and here's an orange. How do I get them to do the same thing? You can't do that. And so it was really difficult and obviously impossible. We did not do that. Are you being pinged by Scott to tell, are those things coming to your phone saying stop it? Stop talking?
They're not.
No? Okay.
No, we're good, right, Scott?
We're good. As long as there's questions.
Uh-oh, is it my phone? Ping. Somebody died. It's okay. She'll be fine. I'm going to be walking home. Are you Yeah, that's okay. But anyway, don't tell I said that. Anyway, it's okay. What other questions do you have? Stay with me. Okay, let's make this happen. This is the best education on the planet. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't do it. And you know what? If you didn't think so, you wouldn't be in this room on a Sunday morning. So I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful to be your partner in this incredible work. We're so lucky to be part of this community. And with you, we'll just keep making it move. Okay? All right, good. Have a great rest of the meeting, Scott.
Well, Margaret, thank you very much. You always bring us so much data, but you also always leave us with so much to think about. And I'm not sure why this popped in my head a few minutes ago, but when I was taking driver ed, I had a driver ed teacher that taught me you align the hood ornament on the car with the edge of the road, and you'll always stay in the road. When my mom and dad took me out to drive, they said, no, you look 30, 40, 50 car lengths down the road, because if that's where you're looking, that's where you'll go. And I'm so glad that you are steering the college like my mom and dad would have taught, not the way my driver ed teacher taught.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. I have fond memories of driver ed. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that brings up some real interesting stories. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm going to do my best to keep my eye on the horizon, even as we're dealing with everything we must every day. So thank you all for what you do for Hartwick. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Well, I'm going to move right on down the line. Everybody, I hope, has had a chance to read the minutes from the May meeting. Is there a need for any additions, corrections, or thoughts? Okay, I got silence, so I'll assume that's a no. I need a, wow, I just went blank.
A motion?
Yes, thank you. I need a motion to accept the minutes.
So
And a second?
Seconded.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Yeah, okay, thank you. The minutes are approved. Standing committee reports. Alexis,
Yes.
what have you got for us?
I don't think Alexis is on the phone with us, so I will
Nope.
an update. And so we are, and you'll probably hear this directly, we are a bit behind with the nominating and recognition committee. We are in the process of working through the election of directors. And so we have 7 alumni that are being approached for directorship, 6 that are across a variety of class years, and then 1 who is a 2017 grad for our young alumni director position. So that's that process that we're working through. The other area that the Nominating and Recognition Committee works on is the Legacy Scholarship. And so I know that there's lots of interest around the table regarding the Legacy Scholarship, so I just wanted to be able to provide a brief update. We currently have 4 recipients. 2 of them are class of 18. So I anticipate that 1 is a 3-year degree candidate, but I couldn't figure out which one it was. Then we have a class of 20 and a class of 21, so we currently have 4 recipients. And as of today, we have 2 recipients, and we're looking at potentially a 3rd for the Legacy Alumni Association Legacy J-Term Scholarship. So we will likely be sending 3 students or supporting 3 students for their January term program. So
That's good. I know Sharon's not on with us today either. Alicia, did she send anything to you? I just got a short email that said they hadn't gotten together over the summer and they're beginning their yearly list of tasks with a conference call next week. Correct.
They met last spring in advance of our May board meeting, and they selected recipients for 2 scholarships. But you're correct, they did not meet over the summer.
Okay. Well, we go down through this list pretty quick. Did Liz send anything to you, Alicia, about the communications group?
Liz did not, but Shanley and I have been working closely together, planning for the next edition of the WIC. And so that is in development right now, and this will be a special issue, and the focus will be changed. And I think after listening to President Dragovich, we all know kind of probably why that will be the theme. Shanley and I are continuing to work together to develop content from the alumni board perspective, and just based on my experience this past weekend, with the class of 1992 as they celebrated their 25th class reunion, and they opened a time capsule that they put together. They were seniors, although none of them remembered being involved. And the really fun part of it was the one alumnus who was there. They were going through, and he pulled out a bumper sticker. It was a WRHO bumper sticker, and on the back he had signed it. So it just kind of floored him because he had no recollection of participating, but it was obvious that he had. So I think we might feature the class of 1992 in the alumni section of the WIC. So Shanley and I are continuing to work towards that.
Okay. Michelle.
Yes. The first year seminar, there has not been any progress made. We've talked a lot about it, well, not a lot. We talked a little bit about it at our May board meeting. I didn't hear back from any of my fellow board members, and that could be perhaps nobody had expertise in any of the areas of the first year seminars, the classes that are being taught. I myself couldn't even sign up for any of them because I didn't have any expertise or any business experience in any of those classes. What I'd like to do, Alicia, is meet to talk a little bit more about that. Also to clarify the mission with Kim, who is is she still the Hartwick? Yes. Staff person in charge of that? Okay, I think that would be very helpful because the professors themselves weren't really aware of this initiative. I think we need to clarify it a little bit more to see if this is indeed a venture that could be a good fit. Yeah. Or perhaps we need to shift it into something else. And another way that we as a board could get more involved with current activities on campus in a different way that might just fit our perspective and our expertise into what's going on at the campus. But I would encourage everybody to look on the Hartwick website and check out the first year seminar classes. If you do have some expertise in an area or might have had that particular professor in a class and you might be interested to learn more, I'd appreciate that you did reach out to me, mbrown@wildwoodprograms.org. So I'll look that up on our ABOD website. But I would like to try to continue a little bit more with this, but it might be something that might need to take a different direction. So, and I'd like feedback from all of you too. If there is something that you can see being a better fit, or could we figure out how to make this fit in a different way?
Sorry, Michelle, could you just refresh, was this a collaboration where we are collaborating with the first year seminar, just sitting in, or?
It is a possible venture. Okay. And it is not clearly defined at this particular time because the first year seminar classes do change every year. So it's not something that we would automatically know, oh yes, there's 5 classes in the business arena, there's 5 in sciences, that kind of thing. So the collaborations with that particular class would have to be very individualized between the alumni board member and the professor in terms of how that would work. Would it be if you live in this general area or close enough that you could come for a day and maybe participate in a class for a day? That would be great. Would it be a Skyping venture? If you have a business in an area where a class is being taught? It's not clearly defined. So it really is a new concept. So yeah, I'll just need some more additional assistance to try to gain a vision of what could happen. So that's a good question.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
And as you're considering that, and Michelle, you did a great job of kind of, this is a very loose framework right now.
Yeah.
And so we're really just, I think, trying to figure out where could each of you connect? What information, knowledge can you potentially impart or collaborate with a faculty member on? But keep in mind, too, we have our new makerspace. And President Dragovich referenced Nadia's presentation, which I participated in the makerspace. And the group of students that I was working with, and we were talking about, okay, how do we bring alumni into this makerspace? And is it a physical presentation? Is it something like having Scott? I mean, Scott's here with us, although he's in Arizona. But he's fully participating in the work that we're doing. So whether it's video conferencing, or they're working on collaborative projects, or there is a simulation happening, and you've been through that and can participate as a mentor in that process. So think about that very broadly. And I think probably, like Michelle said, the first step is to look at the list of first-year seminars that are being offered and determining where do I have something to share. So,
I actually heard that there is an opportunity in there. I don't know the full extent of it's the University Innovation Founders, are what they're called. There's 4 students right now that are participating in this program, and they have a stakeholders meeting periodically. The stakeholders are some staff and some faculty that support this group of students and their learning and their journey along this process and how it's going to impact them and how they can carry that forward. And the professor who's involved and oversees it is Colleen Stamp, and she asked me if I would be an alumni mentor, which would mean joining that stakeholders board. And I did speak to some of the students that are on there right now. I didn't meet all 4 of them, but I shared my contact information just to find out what kind of support they would want, whether it would be part of this group that they bounce ideas off of as stakeholders and how that works. Because I know it's only the second year, I think they've been doing it, the second group of fellows. So I don't even know what they need yet from alumni group, but I was approached. So maybe they would be open to other people as well, because they are interdisciplinary. So when I find out more, I can definitely report back to you.
Sure, if you could just ensure touch with both Michelle and copy myself so that we're all involved in that conversation as it develops. And that way, as we move forward and seek greater clarification or, strengthen the structure or change the structure, blow it wide open, whatever that is, we're all on the same page and aware that that's happening.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I don't know if there's another opportunity with Baker Simpson. I don't know if there's a way for alumni to be involved in that. But that's something else that switches out the community.
Yeah. Yeah. So the clarity will definitely help tremendously in terms of how this could look. And also talking, I would like some of the professor input as well, because my understanding is at this point the professors are not really aware of this venture. And I think that would just help us to define where we might go or how the professors could indeed be the alumni being involved in their personal curriculum.
And I think that you heard President Dragovich talk about Hartwick 225 and particularly the initiative of an alumni mentorship program. And what does that look like? And so, interestingly enough, there's a lot of different people across campus that are all working at this from different angles, but the structure to share all that information doesn't currently exist so that our faculty know, and I've seen it even with the conversations we've had here with interconnectivity. There's conversations happening. So I think Hartwick 225 will help bring some of that clarity and create those communications students pass. That would help a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I was going to ask Don to talk next. Ooh, wow, feedback. He was on the phone at the very beginning, and I'm sure that partway through Margaret talking, I heard a horse in the background, and Don disappeared as his phone went dead. So I'm not sure what that means.
So who knows what that means?
Yeah, but I have a note from him from last night that they have the raw results from the alumni survey that was conducted, but haven't yet gotten together to roll up the data, prepare the findings, observations, implications, etc. So, Alicia, I guess he's communicated with you to schedule a couple of days to come down and work with you and Amanda to put together the report to get it out to us.
Correct. We're looking at a date later in October. And he is going to plan to come to campus, work with Amanda Moxley, who's the Director of Institutional Research and Effectiveness here on our campus. And so she was very helpful to me and to Don as we worked through this alumni survey. The alumni survey closed in June. We ended up with approximately 16% response rate, which was very strong, so we're very excited about that. And it's really, we just need to take the opportunity to really dive into that information to figure out how to have that inform our strategies moving forward.
Okay, do you think that report will be coming out prior to our February meeting, so we'll be emailing it out to everybody, or is your target just the Feb meeting?
That would be the goal. So.
Okay. that was a well-phrased, innocuous answer. I like that. Ken, bring us up to date on Director Giving.
Yes. Let me get my numbers here. The giving, here we go. We had 2 board members that did not make a gift last year, but one has already made a gift this year, and the other has already committed to giving this year. One of the requirements, I just remind everybody, of being on the board is that you are expected to make a contribution to our alma mater, Hartwick College. Last year, the alumni board contributed $22,692 and change to the college, which is a pretty good number. So, I mean, we've had higher in the past, but that's a very respectable number. And there were 7 directors who gave to the Legacy Fund, which you start to hear more and more about as the fund grows. And last year, those 7 directors gave $3,895 to the Legacy Fund. I would encourage each and every one of you that you give not only just to the college, but that you take and give a portion, say 10% maybe, or whatever is comfortable for you. But give something to the Legacy Fund, because that is our scholarship fund as an alumni board. And I think we're somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 currently in the Legacy Fund. I don't have an exact number, but I think that's in the ballpark. So I would suggest one thing that's an easy way to make your gift, and that is to just go online, sign up, make a monthly contribution. Minimum, I think, is what, $10? No minimum? Okay, so $5. You did $5 a month, that's $60. $10 a month, that's $120. Maybe you can do $200 or $300 a month. That would be great. But it's easy. It just goes on your credit card every month, and it's done. And it's a great way, in my case, it's a great way to make my contribution without having to think about it or worry about it. It happens automatically. And that's it, unless anybody has any questions. Look forward to all of you giving to our alma mater. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And if I may suggest, I would like to hope that everyone can go online and do their commitment before Christmas, because I would love to have Ken come to our February meeting and say, okay, we're all done, everybody's in. So there's a target for you. Alicia, I'm going to ask you to start the discussions about this proposal that came from the Alana Alumni Advisory Council, because I know it came up through channels through you, or to you. So if you could give us just a little background to lead off the discussion on this.
I can, absolutely. So many of you remember back to our February board meeting, and even prior to that, there were some conversations that were taking place in public domain about Hartwick and our culture here. And, you know, was there a racist culture here? Was there a lack of diversity? What did that look like? There were some blog posts that were related to the incident that took place back in, I think it was early December. And so there was a lot of dialogue on our campus, beginning in January and probably going through March. And, you know, some of that involved me, a lot of it did not. A lot of it involved our Student Affairs Division as well as the Office of the President. Shortly after our May meeting, a proposal was brought to me from a specific group of alumni. And this proposal was originally shared with our Student Affairs Division. And then came to me, and we've been talking a little bit over the course of the summer about how best to respond to the proposal. I think I included the proposal as an attachment to the minutes and the agenda that was sent out. And so this is the proposal that was submitted by a group of alumni. And so I thought we would talk about it. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about our recommendations, and then we can have an open discussion. Is that how you want to?
Yes, that's a good path.
Okay. So, you know, obviously we look at this board, and we look at how we've been moving forward, the starts and stops that we've had with moving forward. And what I can tell you is that you know, the alumni board is really it's a clean out the streets, it's a volunteer board, it is an advisory board, does not have any fiduciary responsibility to the college, but it takes a tremendous amount of time and energy to provide support to. And we're very happy to do that, and you all do very important work. But when we talk about adding another structure to campus, and then who would provide the appropriate level of support to that, that was something that we thought very carefully about before thinking about a response and a recommendation. And Scott and I have been talking about this for a little while. So my initial reaction to the proposal, and Scott and I have been talking about it, is this board, this body already acts in many of these capacities. And so my recommendation is for this board to consider the possibility of bringing, either creating a task team to address Alana concerns, or somehow incorporating the request that this proposal is making into this structure. You know, this structure is already one that is recognized by the Board of Trustees. There's already a pathway of communication that the Board of Trustees and our Executive Committee have laid out in terms of dialogue and communication. So that would be my recommendation. And then I think if this board is willing to open themselves up to bringing some of these concerns into our purview in a more specific and direct way, and I think we go back to the group of alumni that made the proposal and invite them to become either directors or associate members and act or be represented on a variety of our task teams so that we can address these. Scott, I'll let you add anything that you would like to.
No, as I was rereading this morning, I was making notes on this proposal page of a lot of the different things that they were saying they wanted to address, and I was ticking off items that we already have task teams involved with versus other items which make a good list of future task teams. So, as you said, Alicia, I think the recommendation that I want to make here is that we fold this group in under the alumni board, and we need to design what the task team is going to be for them, but definitely help improve our demographics a little bit and potentially make a new list of tasks that cover some of these other issues that are in here, that are in this document. So I'm open for discussion at this point.
Scott, would that be like an associate director you're talking, as far as bringing them in?
Well, we have the list of people that have signed up as associates saying that they're willing to work with us on task teams. So kind of the bottom line here where this person was saying, here's where you sign up, in my head, the vision is one of our current or next round directors leading the task team to take care of the items in this list that we're not already covering, and all the people that they want to get involved, or that they go out and ask to be involved, would do it through the process we already have in place. Sorry, I got a lot of sirens in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. It's messing with my brain a little bit. But so if there is a group of people that were behind this proposal, we would simply funnel them in through our already existing process of have them sign up as associates, create and define a task that addresses these extra issues, and then have that group become the task team.
Right. So, for example, and Nick, are you still on the line with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So Nick has been working with Karen McGrath, who is our Vice President for Enrollment Management. And so Nick and Karen have been working together to recruit alumni who will work on behalf of Hartwick to go out and recruit prospective students. Obviously, that's incredibly important to us. So one of their goals in this proposal is around admission. So rather than establishing a new separate initiative, I would ask one of their members to work with Nick on his task team to incorporate their goals into the work that is already happening there. So, and Dale is working on career development and already has a structure and has been working with the Passage Center. So again, I think there are already some of these structures in place, and asking them to collaborate with us and work with those already established structures may be a path forward. And those that aren't there, we can look at trying to develop.
I mean, it seems like this is a natural way to incorporate this group. I mean, have you had pushback against it? Because it seems like a great idea the way you described it.
We've not gone back with a response because I wanted to fully vet our thoughts and recommendations with this group before we went back to them.
Did they come to you with, you don't want to be? Was their approach, let me just bring this to you, or was it we want to be this or we don't want to be that?
Their approach was, we want to bring this to you, okay, and then tell us how you plan to respond to it.
Perfect.
Was the Student Affairs Office consulted at all? Typically, I would think the Student Affairs Office would be involved somehow with the new specific group on campus, especially a group that might be bringing up specific concerns, which would need to be addressed by the college.
So if the proposal initially came through Student Affairs, it was submitted through, to the Vice President for Student Affairs. But because it was having alumni provide that feedback, it immediately came to our office because I have alumni. That's good. And so as we talked about that, and I've worked closely and Scott's been involved in some conversations with both my Vice President, Greg Fort, and the Vice President for Student Affairs, we really felt like the Alumni Board was the best structure to support many of the requests that are being made. And so that's why we're bringing this to you, because we want to make sure that this group is supportive of that, or if you felt strongly that we needed to create a separate structure because this structure wasn't prepared to address some of these issues. I wanted to make sure we had the full support of this board before I went back to them and said, I think you should, fold this into the alumni board.
So there could be future collaboration. I'm quite sure certain issues might not be really appropriate for us to provide advice to this particular group on. Just thinking back to some of the issues that have occurred very publicly. So student affairs would partner with us on a certain level for different concerns.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You know, I think as much like many of our board members right now are collaborating with others across campus, you know, whatever comes out of this, as student affairs needs to be involved, we would create that collaboration.
Great. Yeah, I think that would be very important.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, then I guess if we have the blessing of this group, Alicia and I should sit down and separate the items that are in this proposal into essentially two piles. One, these are issues we're already dealing with. Let's roll some new associates into those issues. And these are other issues that we're not currently addressing. Let's design a task team or several task teams and get leaders in play. So that's something, with the group's blessing, Alicia and I should get together and figure out. I see heads nodding. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, we don't need a motion for that or anything. I just need to know that this group does want to roll this in under our umbrella, per se. And so now we'll do the nitty-gritty of how to actually get it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, Alicia, what do you think we should have for a time frame? Be ready to come back at February? Or is this something that you think we should have done sooner?
Well, I definitely think we need to be working towards it sooner. They're anxious for a response and to think about how they can start to collaborate with us and begin to move some of these agenda items forward. So I will be probably inviting them, after we talk about our response, inviting them to participate, whether they register as associate members, providing information for them to participate in meetings.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Forgive me if this is an odd question to ask, but it seems as if, as we're saying, these goals and structures are pretty much synonymous with what we do with the Alumni Board and what your office does, what the Office of Student Affairs does. I don't know how else to put it. Is it not the right, is it perhaps too distinctive and compartmentalized of a move to say these individuals, because they're trying to represent certain groups, we should bring them in, but still have them. I mean, what I'm trying to get at is, should we not then be thinking just about increasing the diversity of the demographics represented on an alumni board? Because my point is, what's the difference? What's the distinguishing factor between the admirable goals that both groups are trying to achieve, other than the fact that these individuals are representing different groups, which we should be representing as well?
Right.
Which actually, we've been struggling over the last couple of years looking at our demographics when we look for new directors and increasing the diversity of our demographic, both through all the different aspects of demographics. And it's something that we have been trying to get to, and I think that this allows us actually a nice stepping stone to maybe be able to do that better.
Great. But then perhaps maybe we should, I guess my concern is I don't want anybody to come in at the associate level feeling like it's a stepping stone to being.
Right.
You understand where I'm going?
Yes. And so as we are going through director elections, we are looking at this and are there individuals that are interested in becoming directors and making that commitment?
Right.
And so that then they could, add to the dialogue.
Right.
And if there are specific ways that they would like to address an issue that we're already working on, whether it's, alumni mentorship or internships or recruitment, that those perspectives are represented.
Great. Fantastic.
I want to caution this response, I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes. I would consider our response a slap in the face. I would not. I agree that our response is the right response. I am worried that what they're trying to get across after what has just happened, and we're talking about culture, that they think that we are part of the problem. That we are, so I agree our response is right, but we really gotta make sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, because what they want to do is what we need to have happen at this level. But offering an associate membership or an associate directorship would be slapping the face to me. So I don't.
I think it's either all or nothing.
Yes, we either you can be a director,
Right.
or
Not be a director.
Well, but I think too, and I respect and appreciate that, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because I certainly want to make sure that our response is thoughtful and appropriate. But I think that there is a process, and this board has existed for a very long time. And, you know, directorship has not been, you know, a hidden secret or limited in any way. Anybody can present themselves at any time and say, you know what, this is the board, and we've been talking in the WIC for the past 3 years about the reset of this board and an opportunity to become involved. So I think we need to be very open to an opportunity for anybody to become involved. And I don't know how large this group is. So, and I don't know all of the members. So a lot of that information has not all been shared. But I want to make sure that we are inclusive, but also, you know, others that have said we want to participate, but maybe, you know, they didn't, you know, we need a nursing major on the board to represent our top major. As we look at directorships, we're looking at making sure we hit a variety of topics in our demographics, whether it's class years, gender, you know, diversity. So we're looking at making sure we have a very representative board. So, you know, I would caution us, again, in the same way, to say, okay, we're going to open it up, and we're going to invite you all to become directors. But I would respect you from doing that forward. I think you're right. We have to be very cautious about how we present that.
is there any way that, you know, you stop down, break it out, talk about it, but before we go and give a full thing, can we get like the message first and like one final, this is exactly what we're going to do, because it's just that I just think it's slippery slope. And again, I agree that our decision is a right decision, but I just want to be cautious of that.
Are there other associate board member positions?
Yes.
And what
Scott,
represented?
Is there approximately 30 associate members?
At the moment, yes.
Right. And so do they represent other types of
I've only caught part of that, Michelle.
Do they represent any other specific interest groups? Or are they just individuals who have said, gee, I would like to be an associate board member?
They've just been individuals that say, I'm willing to give my time and work, let me know what I can do.
Okay. So I think that would be an important thing to know as well.
And I think, too, you know, the next step is probably taking this back to the executive committee to really go through and craft that thoughtful response. And so I think that's probably our next step. And we can certainly let them know that we have had this discussion and that we were talking about it, that we're coming back to them with a response. And we don't want them to not think that we're not moving this forward. But after the executive committee works through the response, if they determine that it should be shared with the entire group, we could do that.
Yes. And when you and I talk tomorrow, Alicia, we need to figure out a aggressive schedule of work sessions to attack this.
And I think as much progress can be made in the sense that, and I'm not sure, perhaps they already know, but just sharing with both groups the fact that we do this, a lot of this already, and that may or may not already be knowledge to people on the group, and that may be something that already bridges the gap for collaboration.
Some of them know that, however, again, the point from what they're trying to do is more so make it more personal.
Right.
So while it's like, I agree with it, we already stated with the response, however, I also feel that they may feel that they may just need to be a separate group and they report back to us. I understand not wanting to duplicate efforts because we are doing many of the same things, and they may be, I'm highly certain they're aware of the efforts that we're doing, but they feel that's coming from them because you see that representation. Well, you don't necessarily see it on the table, but we do have members that are a lot of members. They just can't come for a living reason. So for them being, they're already on campus, they've already connected with some key other Alana groups and they stay in that section with that. I think for them, they already see it as opposed to kind of integrate with us. They don't necessarily see it, but it's there.
And it may be that, you know, we need to think about, depending on you know, what the goals are, we may need to think about as a board, do we establish a new tenet or a specific task team? And certainly that is all up to the board as we move forward. But I think having that structure already in place gives them the opportunity to participate through that structure and accomplish some goals.
Alicia, I think one caveat that we have to kind of keep in mind as far as bringing people onto the board of directors, I think we've had this happen in the past where we've got people who are interested maybe in being a member of the board, and then we have the election, they don't get elected, and they just pull away completely, not only from the Alumni Association, but from the college. So that if we have someone that is interested, that if we ask them to be on the board, that it's kind of, you're going to be on the board, not you might be.
Right. Right. Agreed.
Scott, you with us?
I am. Do you have any other thoughts in the room? Okay, well, I think our next steps then is the executive committee getting together and working through this to see how we can move forward with this. And yes, I agree, we need to get some general information back to this group right away so they know that it's not just sitting on a table, it is being worked on. Okay, anything else? All right, Alicia, I think you and I will have to get some call times put down and bring the executive committee together. Okay, last call for thoughts on the topic. Okay, that moves us to general Q&A. Anybody, anything?
I just wanted to extend a thank you to the board for participating in the Awakening Dinner that happened over the summer since the last meeting. We had asked for help, like financially to support and then physically to be there. So I know Neil and Alicia were there, as well as some other people on campus who've been working with the board, like Karen McGrath, who was mentioned earlier. And I don't know necessarily if anyone has reached out or if this familiar face on campus has either been made between you with some of the students that were there or with Neil. But I would hope that some connections have come out of it. It's hard not being here to see it personally, but I just wanted to extend a thank you since that was granted after last meeting.
Yeah, the general answer, he looks familiar. Yes, you met me at Awakening.
There we go.
And and as staff, we meet students a lot, especially during their first year through a lot of different things. And I always tell them, if you see me on campus, say hello and say, you met me at. And I will connect at that point in time. Otherwise, I know I knew you from somewhere.
I'm glad to hear that happened, though.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a student that was at the Fellowship Stewardship Reception that we held in late September. And that was the exact conversation. And so she was doing great.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I just want to give an update on young alumni engagement actions since the May board meeting was held but two specific ones. The day after the May board meeting, we had a senior event. We had expected 20 to 30 seniors. We got about 35 students in the Farrington room. We had like a brunch type set up. A few board members were there. We just kind of shared with them what the alumni board was, what we do, try to engage them in being an alumni before they actually left the school. I know that Evie Scott connected with one of the seniors individually and sent us an email about with her resume to forward on, and that's kind of the relationship we wanted to build and want to continue doing that with seniors this year, just get them started and aware of what being an alumni means and the connections that they have when they leave the school. And then the second thing that we did throughout September, I think we had 4 regional Can Jam tournaments. We did one on Long Island, Trenton, Boston, and Albany, and Rochester. And so while they were not as successful in attendance as we hoped they'd get in Boston, Boston had a really nice turnout. Hopefully next year, the idea of having this regional young alumni event was there. We just have to figure out more ways to involve alumni and actually get them there. Whether it was timing, the time of year, or if it was Can Jam itself. We thought that might be a great way to get younger alumni to participate, but thinking of other ways moving forward that we can entice people to come out and spend some time with Hartwick alumni throughout the day. That's something that we'll think about for next year.
And thank you for your work on that. And just so interestingly enough, we talked about a lot about transitions. In terms of young alumni engagement, our former staff member, Marina Tsunami, had initially been working with Katie and members of her team. And then that was transitioned to Sabrina when she came on August 1st, or just prior to that, as the alumni engagement officer. But it has been one of those very busy summers for us as we managed a ribbon cutting for the new apartment community on August 31st, and then we hosted alumni on campus on September 9th for the 40th anniversary of the Division I soccer championship, and then turned right around into True Blue. So be patient with us. It has been a wild couple of months. And Sabrina has transitioned into her duties beautifully. She understands how workload is facing her, but she has the responsibility for young alumni engagement, and so we look forward to big things coming from that.
Okay, anything else, anybody? Well, I'll bet lunch is waiting for you out in the hallway. I know breakfast is waiting for me, so I'll entertain a motion to officially adjourn. Second?
Seconded.
All approve, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody going to say no? Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, I really want to thank everybody for attending the meeting today, and thank you for helping out with this experiment. This may be a way that we can start to get back to 100% attendance at every meeting for some of the people that physically can't get there. So, enjoy yourself. It's a gorgeous day here. I hope it is there.
Yeah.
Alicia, call me tomorrow.
Okay, I will do. Thank you, Scott.
All right. So long,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, Nick.
Have a good one. Bye.